there, I'm Cary Ellis, author of 21st Century Superhuman, and we're here today with a Keshe Foundation interview. Today I am with Dr. Gatua from Kenya, who is one of the instructors or the main instructor at the agriculture teachings, the private teachings with the Keshe Foundation, and he is having amazing results. And Dr. Gatua, welcome. It's so good to be here with you and visit with you today and see the amazing things that you're doing.
Thank you very much, Cary. I'm glad to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you've told me you have a background, your PhD is in agriculture, I'm thinking, and you studied all over the United States and taught in the United States. Tell us a little bit about your story and how you stumbled into the Keshe teachings.
Well, actually, I grew up on a farm in Kenya, and then I worked after O-levels, during my high school education. I worked for a few years, and then I couldn't get what I wanted done. So, and I realized that the environment was getting worse. So I started studying organic farming in Kenya. I returned to school. After 15 years, I returned to school in Kenya and studied for 2 years in an agricultural college in Kenya.
Nice.
And I later went to University of California, Santa Cruz, as an apprentice in ecological horticulture.
Nice.
This agroecology program was started, the farm agroecology, what they teach there was started by Alan Chadwick, who was a student of Rudolf Steiner.
Oh, amazing. Yes, wonderful.
Yes, and then I thought, oh, I just got a certificate. I had a lot of those from Kenya. I wanted more education. The more I learned, the more I realized I didn't know. So I continued, I applied for university at California, University of California, Santa Cruz, and was admitted for environmental studies. And then I double majored with the environmental studies and politics. And those were my first degrees in the University of California, Santa Cruz.
Nice.
And I wanted more. So I went to Cornell, where I earned 2 master's degrees, one in international agriculture and rural development. That was a Master of Professional Studies. And then later, I did a Master's of Science in Crop and Soil Science. I later joined the University of Wyoming, where I did my PhD in agronomy, graduating in 2008. Then I worked for that university as a part-time lecturer. I taught courses. I even had study abroad classes where I brought US students to Kenya from the University of Wyoming for 2 years. I mean, they were here for 2 weeks each time.
That's amazing.
All this time, I really wanted, I knew there was something wrong, and there were things that we did not understand necessarily. So I was also doing research on old civilizations, especially that of Egypt, ancient Egypt.
Oh, amazing. How exciting.
Yeah, and I did that for a very long time and realized that the information was a little bit here, a little bit there. You could read 1,000 books and not get the whole picture.
I think you need to write a book.
I should. Yeah. I'm thinking about it too.
Yes.
So during that time that I learned about Mr. Keshe and his plasma science, and the first time I saw him talk was in an interview, and it was so amazing. I knew that I could get all the answers from one book, that of Mr. Keshe himself. So I was very excited and started watching his teachings on Thursday. I would attend Thursdays and Tuesdays, the public teachings.
Nice.
And later I applied to become a private student in plasma science and was admitted. I started in 2016, January. So Mr. Keshe was teaching that class, and a few weeks later, I presented my first research in plasma science that I had done out of just looking at his videos. I came to Kenya and did an experiment, and I presented that in class. And Mr. Keshe asked me to work for Keshe Foundation and to return to Kenya, where I did return in April, end of March actually, 2016, and came to Kenya and work for Keshe Foundation from here. I teach plasma science, especially in agriculture globally for Keshe Foundation. I also teach farmers here, ordinary farmers, and I'm also teaching in a school in Kenya.
Nice.
Yes, that's basically my background.
So are you the only teacher of the agriculture in the private teachings, or are there other teachers as well?
Let's say that I coordinate, because private teachings in agriculture includes professionals in agriculture and researchers, and then people who are just interested in plasma science application in agriculture. So they're already doing something.
Nice. You have all kinds of people coming to these private teachings, mostly either those who are already doing agriculture or who are interested, and they can apply to be part of these teachings. And it's only 150 euros a year, so it's not very much. It just helps keeping the web presence going and all of that. So people can join at agriculture@kfssi.org, and we will put that link with this video.
It's 100 euro, and those, especially those from Africa who cannot afford, or Asia, can apply and say that they cannot afford, and then they would be admitted.
That is beautiful, and I think that's really important, because we're living in a global culture where there are different economic abilities everywhere, and the Keshe Foundation would like everyone to have access to these teachings. So no one will be kept away. So just know that if you're in a country where you have less resources, that you can still apply.
That's correct.
Very good.
And here, I'm just showing a few photos of my experiments in Kenya. This is a seed germination experiment using GANS liquid plasma, especially CO2 and zinc oxide. Usually CO2 has some zinc oxide GANS in it. So this was just testing germination. To the left, those are corn. Those are corn plants. And to the right, oats. This experiment was earlier, the earlier ones, when we knew very little about plasma science. So I used the methods that would apply in conventional experimental plots, where you plant those that you of different treatments close by, so that you experiment under the same conditions. But we learned that when you do this in plasma science, the fields, the gravitational magnetic fields of the CO2 that you apply extend beyond these fields. So the difference here may be minimal, if any, because even those that you have not applied CO2 liquid plasma to benefit from those you have.
So Gatua, let's talk for just a moment about what GANS is, so that if we have listeners who are new to the plasma science, they'll have an understanding. And most of us who are students of the Keshe teachings have been making GANS for several years now, and it's a wonderful material. It's a way to create amplified plasmatic fields in our world with this energy that's flowing around us all the time, and how we can kind of gather it into our world and create amplified fields. So would you like to just run through very quickly how you produce GANs? Because it's something anyone can do at home, and I also teach in simpler countries a lot. I've traveled the world teaching plasma technology, and I love knowing that anyone can make this anywhere, and we can even make it out of things that we find, in the trash heap, or just leftover things, different places. We can actually make our GANs very simply. So, and I love it that you're doing it in a very simple way. So go ahead and just run through your GANS making process very quickly.
So what we do, we use nano-coated copper materials. Could be a nano-coated copper plate or coil. I use coils for the most part because plates are not very easy to come by here in Kenya. And then on the other, we use two metals. That would be just like the leaf is nano-coated on, but differently. From one side of the leaf has a different coating than the other. So we just copy that and use nano-coated copper materials and zinc plates. And we get zinc plates very easily from batteries, the very cheap batteries, carbon zinc batteries. The wrapping material is made of zinc. So we use that in salt water, between 3 to 6 or thereabout percent by volume. I mix that in a container, and that creates a magnet to attract CO2 from the environment, and that CO2 comes in nanosolid. So you can actually look at the CO2, and the beauty of that, it's each of the CO2, tiny balls of CO2 in nano state is the equivalent of a sun, has the power of the sun. And then I rinse about 9 times when I collect the CO2. Because of the salt mixture, it will have salt, and you don't want to use it when it's salty. So I put it in, harvest it into another container, and then let it settle to the bottom of the container with water, and then I remove the water that has salt and add. I use here in Kenya rainwater, because ideally we should use distilled water. But I use rainwater where everyone can get that. It's easily accessible. And then I rinse about 9 times minimum. I also make sure that there is no taste of salt. So now the liquid plasma above the actual GANS, which are creamy looking, is what I use for the plants. And that is the liquid plasma of CO2, because they carry the fields, the gravitational magnetic fields of the GANS themselves.
Go ahead and show us a little more, Gatua, about the miracle of how using this plasma water, the clear water off the top of the GANS, helps grow amazingly beautiful plants and produce more food, and actually increases our possibility of being able to easily feed 7 billion people on planet Earth.
Thank you very much. Here, what is displayed here is a photo of the experimental plots of potatoes that used liquid plasma CO2 with some zinc oxide liquid plasma too. What I did was pre-soak before sowing for 3 hours. I pre-soaked the seed potato tubers before planting them. And then I realized increased yields out of the plots that used CO2 liquid plasma relative to those that used just water. And the water was the control experiments. So that's those are the plots of potatoes. Here I was testing. These are cabbages. The plots are about 5 feet by 10 feet, 5 feet wide by 10 feet long, and there are 6 of them. I let to the very left. I would later hang GANS in a ping pong balls, and they show here at maturity age. That plot was not so vigorous in growth in the beginning, but when I applied the GANS above the plot, that plot actually they caught up and grew very vigorously.
So that's wonderful. I've done that also, hanging the the ping pong ball with GANS around the gardens in my yard. And just to know, I think it helps people to understand that besides just watering the plants with the plasma water, also just hanging the GANS around the field, the plasma water. When you hang the ping pong ball, you just put the plasma water in, correct? Or do you put the GANS as well?
I put both.
Put both.
Both in the,
okay, yes. And that's nice to know. And then that also helps just put out the field of these amplified plasmatic fields of the zinc and the CO2 in the plants, as you found, grew more healthy. The ones that were smaller at the one end got bigger. And so very simple way to add this to your world, to your life, to your yard. More birds come and all kinds of things. So birds and animals love it.
Yes, and it's amazing. The first thing you realize is the change of color. You get very dark green color.
Beautiful.
And these are pineapple plantation. I also tested a liquid plasma of CO2 and mixed with the liquid plasma of zinc oxide. I had plots that I applied those liquid plasmas, and plots in another place further apart, like 50 or so meters, where I just applied water and compared growth and yields. It was amazing that the ones that used liquid plasma had a lot of shoots, because how the pineapples grow, the shoot that produces fruit does it only once and then it dies back. So future fruits come from shoots. And the ones that had liquid plasma had up to 6 shoots, which was amazing.
Wow. So that's showing that they're ready to produce more fruit than a pineapple that's grown according to commercial agriculture methods these days.
That's correct. And I also realized that you get early growth, early maturity. So I harvested fruit about a month earlier than those plots that I had just used water.
A month earlier? Wow, that is amazing. What does that tell us? That we can have much more food production than we already do, correct?
Yes, and do it earlier. Get to the harvest earlier.
And then what about the taste of the pineapples?
Amazing. I have had people, even for other things like my potatoes are especially tasty, but sometimes you think, oh, you may have bias. So that's where I have called other people to also taste and tell me what they think. And of course, they always say they are very sweet. In fact, recently I have found out that even my other pineapples taste especially well, because the buyers are asking to buy from only this farm because they taste different. That's what they are saying. So it's amazing.
Beautiful. Yes, show us more.
Yeah, and I have quite a number of, in fact, these pineapples are planted in star formation, where I have spaced them 42 inches between rows and 21 inches between plants in star formation. That is, they make like a triangle. Yes, so it's amazing. Even the feeling when you walk in this garden, in this pineapple plantation. I do this every day, like 5 times. Every time I take a break, I walk through my farm.
I love it. And you plant the plants in star formation. We'll learn a little bit more about that in some of your upcoming slides here.
That's correct. Yeah, it will become clear.
Yes.
And, especially here. I tried to grow moringa here and oats. Moringa didn't do well. This is not the best place for moringa. It likes drier climates. And this one is quite, it's not dry. It's very mild, almost temperate. Now, here is, I just used fields of liquid plasma. That means I put liquid plasma in these bottles and place them in star formation. You can see the star formation. in fact, multiple star formations.
But it's basically, it's an energetic design that helps amplify, again, the energy field.
This would be the top, the one that is at the top, and then 3 in the base. Star formation, and what the color was very different from crops that did not use these star fields.
And here you're not even watering with plasma water. You're just setting up a field with the bottles of the plasma water.
That's correct during the growth period, but at planting stage, I did water.
Okay. And you have GANS in these bottles itself, or just the plasma water again? It looks like there's a little GANS in there, maybe.
These are just, this is just the liquid plasma, clear liquid.
The clear liquid.
Always.
Okay.
Usually carry a little bit of the gases.
Okay. And if people come to the agriculture teachings and even the public teachings with the Keshe Foundation, which are happening every week, really wonderful, wonderful teachings, they'll learn more about the details of how to put these things together.
Of course, and then they also experiment in their farms and then show them. So private agriculture classes is a place where we bring all the experiments from everywhere in the world.
Nice.
Okay. So that shows the star formation. Now you look at the growth. You see how the distance was quite large from the ground to the bottles on top was about 4 feet. Look at the crops. You look at the, and notable here is the color, the dark green color of the oats plants.
Yes.
Now, in another experiment, I just irrigated with water to the left and with CO2 liquid plasma mixed with the zinc oxide liquid plasma. These plots were spaced apart, like 20 meters difference. They are not side by side because of the fields. The fields applied to the right could actually affect the plants to the left.
Yes.
So that's why I keep them distant at a distance.
Yes.
But you can see the growth. The dark green color to the right, where the plants have been where CO2 liquid plasma and zinc liquid plasma has been applied.
Yes. I can imagine the oats would just be more nutritious from those healthier looking plants.
Definitely. The more healthier, the healthier the crop, the healthier the produce, I would suppose.
Yes.
Yes, and then that was amazing. I have the yield data, and it was about 3 times harvested. I weighed everything.
Wow.
The weight of the crops to the right that had liquid plasma were about 3 times more.
That is awesome. Awesome, awesome.
Yes, and this is a very vigorous growing potato plant that use liquid plasma. I used no fertilizers. I did not use any chemical sprays. So this shows us liquid plasma suffices. In fact, it gives us superior yields and superior growth than any of those fertilizers and chemical pesticides. Those are not needed, and in fact, I don't use them. These are the cabbages when they matured or are close to maturity, and harvested potatoes. My very first experiment in Kenya, to the left, I grew potatoes. Later, with improved techniques of the plasma science, I harvested more from each plant than I did at first. So you can see to the right, I have about 20 tubers from one plant, and that is amazing.
And because you said a normal, quote unquote, normal harvest from one plant might be 6 potatoes, correct?
6 to 8, or yes, around that. If you get 10, you're very lucky.
And then you have 20 here.
Oh yeah, this was amazing. And they're big size. They're very good size.
Gorgeous.
And just showing a technique of how I harvested them. I harvested them and grouped them in tens from one plot to the left. That's the harvest from one plot only. And then to the right is the relative harvest yield between those that used control, just water to the left, in the right picture, and those that I applied liquid plasma to the right.
That is
you can
amazing.
see the heap to the right is larger.
Yes.
So we have superior yields by about more than 10%.
Yes, gorgeous.
Yes. Now this is another experiment of potatoes. This is a very recent one where I had two plots, one to the right, where I soaked the seed potatoes in CO2 liquid plasma with some bit of plasma liquid of zinc oxide, and then to the right, just water as control. These plots are not side by side. They are at a distance of 20 meters. 20 meters separate the two plots. So this is both of these pictures show the growth stage of the potatoes that were controlled, that used only water, soaking, and irrigation for the first month. These are the ones that I used liquid plasma for soaking, pre-sowing, soaking, and irrigation for the first month. And then I set up.
Yes.
Then I set up multiple star formations. What you see in the corner is repeated in every corner here. So I want to annotate here. So
beautiful.
Here is
Yes.
Multiple star formation itself. And I have this combination of GANSes at the corners, all the four corners, CO2 liquid plasma. In the center here and above, I have zinc oxide liquid plasma. And below that, I have CH3 GANS.
Beautiful.
So at the corner of this, it's 20 feet by 20 feet plot. The whole thing is 20 feet by 20 feet. So each corner has a star formation like this one.
Beautiful.
And then in the center, then I have this structure, which is actually two of these combined, one above the other. This one is facing downwards, and there is another one here. And this, I tried to create a condition for deuterium. And if successful, that condition for deuterium would mean continuous release of hydrogen for the plants.
Nice.
Energy. So the plants would grow better, and in fact they did. And sometimes you could see the field. The first time I took photos of this one in the center, I brought it home, and I was kind of really surprised because I felt exactly the way I feel in the field. And I can hear some ringing, like you go to a forest and you hear some ringing in your ears that is continuous, and I believe those are beta waves. I just look at the photo here and hear those just like I do in the garden or walking in a forest.
Gorgeous.
So it's amazing. I use this in class to ask. I asked students, those who in class, what they felt, and some of them could hear the ringing.
Yes, and I'm used to taking photos with seeing the plasmatic field in the photo, and I feel that we can see that in this photo, and I can feel it. It's just amazing. I can feel energy going through me just looking at this picture.
Yes, I feel the same, and it's very intense. In fact, this I thought could become a feeding system where you just look at this and you get fed.
Yes, absolutely. And we have that conversation about GANS and plasma as we have these things in our home and our world and our gardens. We really even need to eat less food. So our desire for food goes down because we're getting what we need from the fields. So this is a whole new futuristic way of living that we're beginning to experiment with and learn about through these teachings.
Exactly, and in the near future, we may not even have to kill any plant in order to eat, because we can get the energy directly.
Yes. Well, Gatua, I am going to, let's go ahead and pop out of screen sharing and say goodbye. We've been on for a good amount of time here. So many blessings, and thank you so much for the work you're doing, for being here with us today. And we just want to invite people to join your teachings. Those who are interested in growing gardens and agriculture, there's so much to be learned and shared in the private teachings with the Keshe Foundation.
Yes, thank you very much, Cary. And those interested can apply to agriculture at kfssi.org. I repeat, agriculture at kfssi.org. We'll be glad to receive their applications and we will respond accordingly. And thank you very much, Cary.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, my friend. And so good to meet you across the great waves of planet Earth. We are becoming a global family and a global culture. And that's really what these teachings are all about, so that we can step into our place as a galactic society.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm happy to serve.
Thank you. And I will look forward to talking to you again one of these days. Many blessings.
Anytime, you're welcome. Thank you very much.
Okay, ciao. And we want to remind everyone to breathe and smile and enter into love within yourself and explore these amazing teachings, because they will change your life and your world.